You get $25, Dad. That's it. Those were my son's words, delivered with the kind of satisfaction you'd expect from a man about to inherit his mother's $45 million fortune. Tyler wanted me there at the will reading just to watch my face when they made it official. That I was worth absolutely nothing to this family. What he didn't know was that his mother, even from the grave, had one final move to play, and I was about to find out I was the centerpiece of it. My name's Brian Carter. I'm 58 years old, and for the last 15 years, I've been running Carter's Auto Repair in Youngstown, Ohio. It's not much to look at, a two-bay garage with a small office that smells like coffee and motor oil. But it's mine, bought and paid for with my own sweat. The sound of air wrenches and the smell of brake fluid, that's been my world since everything else fell apart. I used to be different, used to wear ties instead of coveralls. I was an engineer back then, with Carter Defense Technologies. Yeah, that's right. The company was named after me originally. My ex-wife Rachel and I built it together in the late 90s, back when we were young and stupid enough to think we could take on the world. Military contracts, defense systems, the whole 9 yards. I had the engineering background, she had the business sense. Perfect team, or so I thought. I was under the hood of a '98 Silverado that Tuesday morning when my phone rang. Had to wipe the grease off my hands before I could check the caller ID. When I saw the number, I almost didn't answer Tyler Carter. My son, though he'd stopped calling me Dad about 20 years ago. Brian, he said when I picked up. Not Dad or Pop or even hey there, just Brian, like I was some guy from high school he barely remembered. Mom's gone, stroke, last week. Rachel. The woman who'd built Carter Defense Technologies into one of the biggest military contractors in the Midwest. The woman who'd divorced me and taken everything, including our son's respect. I just stood there, wrench still in my hand, trying to process it. I'm sorry for your loss, I managed to say, though I wasn't sure if I meant it. Rachel and I had history, the kind that leaves scars the funeral. I started to ask, figuring I should at least offer to pay respects. Already happened, Tyler cut me off, his voice sharp, last Thursday. You weren't invited? Look, I'm not calling to chat. Mom's lawyer needs you at the will reading, it's some legal requirement. Friday, 10 a.m. sharp, downtown Cleveland, Palmer and Associates. I knew what this was really about. Tyler wanted his victory lap. After 20 years of him thinking I was some kind of criminal who'd betrayed the family, this was his chance to rub my face in it. He wanted me there to watch him inherit everything while I walked away with pocket change. Tyler, I don't see why I need to be there, I said, setting down my wrench. Your mother and I settled everything in the divorce. I signed away any claims to the company. Tyler laughed, and it was not a pleasant sound. Oh, you need to be there, all right? They have to officially tell you that you get nothing. Zero. Zip. It's required by law. He paused, and I could practically hear the smirk in his voice. I specifically requested that you be present. I want to see your face when they read it out loud. There it was, the real reason. Tyler didn't just want to inherit his mother's empire, he wanted to humiliate me in the process. 20 years of built-up resentment, and this was his moment to let it all out. Don't worry about gas money for the drive home, he added, his voice dripping with fake concern. I'll make sure you get $25. Consider it charity from the family you betrayed. The line went dead before I could respond. I stood there in my garage looking at that old Silverado with its engine problems and thought about the last time I'd worn anything but work clothes. It had been at the divorce hearing 20 years ago, the day my old life ended and Tyler's new one began. See, Tyler grew up believing a lie. His mother told him I was a criminal, that I'd stolen from the company, that I'd betrayed the family trust. And why wouldn't he believe her? She was the successful CEO, the respected businesswoman. I was just the guy who got caught with his hand in the cookie jar, or so the story went. The truth was different, a lot different, but Tyler had never wanted to hear my side of things, and after a while I'd stopped trying to tell it. I looked at my hands, calloused, stained with years of honest work. These weren't the soft hands of an engineer anymore, they were mechanic's hands, and I wasn't ashamed of them. I'd built something here in this garage, not much, but it was mine. Still, part of me was curious. What exactly had Rachel left me in that will? $1? A penny? Some final insult to cap off 20 years of exile from the family I'd helped create? Only one way to find out. Friday morning, I closed the garage and drove my pickup truck to Cleveland. Same truck I'd been driving for 10 years. Nothing fancy, but it got me where I needed to go. The radio was busted, So I had plenty of time to think during that hour drive up I-80. Plenty of time to remember things I'd tried to forget. Like teaching Tyler to change oil when he was 12. Kid complained the whole time about getting his hands dirty. Why do I need to know this stuff? He'd whined. Dad, my friends' dads don't make them do this kind of work. Rachel had backed him up, like always. Brian, he doesn't need to learn manual labor. He's going to college. He'll have people to do this kind of thing for him. Even then, she was already planning his escape from my world. The law office was in one of those glass towers downtown, the kind of place where men in $1,000 suits make million-dollar decisions. I parked my beat-up Ford between a Mercedes and a BMW, feeling like the odd man out already. The parking attendant gave my truck a look like it might leak oil on his precious concrete. I was wearing the only suit I owned. Navy blue, bought it at J.C. Penney back in 2003 for my brother's funeral. Still fit mostly, though it was a little tight around the middle. 15 years of garage work and Lisa Coleman's cooking will do that to a man. My hands were clean, but you can't get 15 years of motor oil completely out from under your fingernails. I wasn't ashamed of that. Every stain was earned. The lobby was all marble and mahogany, designed to make regular people feel small. The kind of place that whispered money instead of shouting it. I walked up to the reception desk where a young woman with perfect teeth gave me a look like I was tracking mud on her white carpet. I'm here for the Carter Will reading, I told her. She checked her computer screen, then pointed towards some leather chairs that probably cost more than most people make in a month. They'll be with you shortly, mister. She paused, clearly hoping I'd provide a title that made sense of my presence. Carter. Brian Carter. Her eyebrows went up slightly. The name meant something to her, but she couldn't quite place how a guy in a J.C. Penney suit fit into the Carter Defense Technologies story. I didn't have to wait long before Tyler showed up. He didn't come alone. That was Tyler's style. He brought an entourage, like some kind of corporate prince making his entrance. First through the door was Wade Phillips, Tyler's financial advisor. I recognized the type shark in an expensive suit, the kind of guy who could find 6 ways to avoid taxes before you finished explaining your problem. He had that hungry look rich people's money men get when they smell a big payday coming. Behind him was a blonde woman young enough to be Tyler's daughter, but clearly wasn't from the way she hung on his arm. Had to be Tiffany, his latest girlfriend. Tyler always did like his accessories shiny and new. This one was squeezed into a dress that cost more than I made in a week and looked like she'd been poured into it. And then there was Tyler himself. My son looked good, I had to admit. Success suited him. He had his mother's sharp eyes and her way of looking at people like they were slightly disappointing. The suit he was wearing probably cost more than I made in 3 months. His hair was perfect, his shoes were polished, and his watch caught the light like a small sun on his wrist. He'd grown into Rachel's world completely. No trace left of the kid who used to help me in the garage back when he still called me Dad. Well, he said when he spotted me sitting in that fancy waiting area, that the guest of honor has arrived. He walked over with his crew trailing behind like some kind of corporate parade. Wade Phillips was already sizing me up, probably calculating whether I was worth the effort to schmooze. Tiffany was looking at me like I was a stain on the furniture. Everyone, Tyler announced, loud enough for the whole waiting room to hear. Meet my father. The mechanic, he said it like it was a disease. Like fixing things with your hands was something shameful. I remembered a different Tyler, age 8, watching me rebuild a carburetor on the kitchen table. His eyes had been wide with wonder then, asking 100 questions about how engines worked, why parts fit together the way they did. Dad, how do you know all this stuff? He'd asked. That Tyler was long gone, so this is how it's going to work, Tyler said, his voice carrying that boardroom authority he'd learned from his mother. The lawyer's going to read Mom's will. You're going to sit there and listen while he explains how she left everything to me, the company, the house, the investments, all of it. Then you're going to take your little parting gift and drive back to your garage. Wade Phillips chuckled at that, like Tyler had made some clever joke. Tiffany was already bored, scrolling through her phone. Tyler, I said quietly, I didn't come here to cause trouble. Trouble? He laughed, and there was nothing pleasant about the sound. Dad, you are trouble. You've been trouble for 20 years. The only difference is, now it's ending. Now, everyone's going to see exactly what you're worth to this family. Before I could respond, a door opened across the lobby. A man in his 60s stepped out, perfect gray hair, suit that whispered authority instead of shouting it. He had the kind of presence that instantly quieted a room. "The Carter family," he said, his voice carrying easily across the marble space. "Scott Palmer. I'd heard of him, one of Cleveland's top estate lawyers, the kind of guy who handled wills for people who had serious money to leave behind." He looked at Tyler first, which made sense. Tyler was clearly the main event here. But then his eyes found me, and he held my gaze for just a moment longer than necessary. "Shall we proceed?" Palmer asked. Tyler straightened his tie and flashed that $1 million smile he'd inherited from his mother. "Let's get this over with. I've got lunch reservations." As we walked toward the conference room, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was walking into something bigger than a simple will reading. Something that was going to change everything. I just didn't know how right I was. The conference room was everything you'd expect from a place that handled serious money. Dark wood paneling, floor-to-ceiling windows with a view of downtown Cleveland, and a table so polished you could see your reflection in it. The kind of room designed to make important decisions feel even more important. Tyler naturally took the chair at the far end, like he owned the place. Why wouldn't he? In his mind, he was about to become the owner of a $45 million empire. Wade Phillips sat to his right, already pulling out his phone to start calculating whatever financial magic rich people do with their money. Tiffany claimed the chair to Tyler's left, but she looked bored already, like this was just another tedious business meeting she had to sit through. I took a seat closer to the door. Old habit from my Navy days, always know where your exit is. Scott Palmer settled in at the head of the table and opened a thick leather folder. The kind of folder that holds life-changing documents. He pulled out a pair of reading glasses and put them on with the deliberate care of a man who'd done this many times before. "This is the last will and testament of Rachel Marie Carter," he began, his voice carrying that formal tone lawyers use when they're about to change someone's life. Dated September 15th of this year, Tyler was practically vibrating with anticipation. This was his moment, his vindication. 20 years of believing his mother was the victim and I was the villain, and now he was about to collect his reward. Palmer started with the usual legal language, sound mind and body, revoking previous wills, all that standard stuff. Then he got to the specific bequests. "To my housekeeper, Lisa Coleman, who has been with me for 25 years, I leave the sum of $50,000 in recognition of her loyal service and friendship." Good for Lisa. She'd been there through everything, the good times and the bad. She deserved every penny of that money. "To my driver, Neil Harper, I leave $30,000 with my thanks for his discretion and professionalism." Tyler was getting impatient. I could see it in the way he was tapping his fingers on that expensive table. This wasn't what he came here for. He wanted to get to the main event. Palmer continued reading through smaller bequests, money to various charities, some personal items to old friends. Each one seemed to make Tyler more agitated. He kept checking his watch, like he had somewhere more important to be. Finally, Wade Phillips couldn't take it anymore. "Mr. Palmer," he interrupted, "perhaps we could move to the primary estate distribution? Mr. Carter has other appointments today." Palmer looked at him over those reading glasses, and his expression didn't change one bit. "Mr. Phillips, I will read every word of this document exactly as Mrs. Carter intended. Every bequest matters." That shut Wade up real quick. You don't interrupt a lawyer like Scott Palmer when he's doing his job. Tyler shot Wade a look that could have melted steel, but he settled back in his chair. He was learning what I'd known for years. Sometimes you just have to wait for things to play out. Palmer turned the page. "We now come to the disposition of the primary estate." The room got quiet. This was it. The moment Tyler had been waiting for. I found myself holding my breath, curious, despite myself about what Rachel had left me. $1? Nothing at all. Some final insult to cap off 20 years of exile. "To my son, Tyler Carter," Palmer read, and Tyler leaned forward like a dog hearing his dinner bowl being filled. "I leave the sum of $25. The silence that followed was complete. You could have heard a pin drop on that polished table. Tyler's face went through several different colors, white, red, then a kind of purple I'd never seen on a human being before. "What?" The word came out as barely a whisper. But Palmer wasn't done. He reached into his briefcase and pulled out another document, this one sealed with red wax. "This is a codicil, a legal addendum to the will, signed and witnessed 3 weeks before your mother's death." Tyler looked like he was going to be sick. "That's not possible. She wouldn't." I'm her son. I'm the heir. Your mother wanted this read aloud, Palmer continued, breaking the wax seal. She left specific instructions. He opened the document and began to read. And suddenly, it wasn't Palmer's voice anymore. It was Rachel's words, spoken from beyond the grave. Tyler, I am writing this because I can no longer live with the lie I created. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. This couldn't be happening. She'd never admitted the truth about what really went down in 2004. For 20 years, I let you believe your father betrayed me and our family. The truth is exactly the opposite. Your father saved me. Tyler was shaking his head like he could make the words stop. No, that's not true. He was the criminal. He stole from the company. Mom told me. Palmer kept reading, his voice steady and relentless. In 2004, Carter Defense Technologies was facing bankruptcy and federal charges. I had overextended on a Pentagon contract and made decisions that bordered on fraud. Your father stepped in to save the company and our family. The room was spinning. I couldn't think straight. All those years of carrying the weight of everyone thinking I was a criminal, and Rachel had known the truth the whole time. Your father used his engineering expertise and security clearance to restructure our defense contracts legally. When the FBI investigated, he deliberately took responsibility to protect me and the company. He lost his engineering license. He lost his reputation. He lost his family. He did it all to save us. Tyler was making small, choking sounds. His perfect corporate composure was cracking like ice in the spring. Wade Phillips was staring at me like he'd never seen me before. Even Tiffany had looked up from her phone. But Palmer wasn't finished. There was more to come, and I had the sinking feeling that my quiet life in Youngstown was about to change forever. The money you expected to inherit, Palmer continued reading, Rachel's letter exists only because your father sacrificed everything to create it. The company you thought was built by your brilliant mother. It was saved by your father's expertise and honor. I was back in 2004, remembering those dark months when everything fell apart, the late-night meetings with federal agents. The choice between Rachel going to prison for fraud and me taking a career-ending plea deal. I'd made the call to protect my family, thinking it was temporary. Thinking eventually the truth would come out 20 years later, and it was finally happening. Your father is not a criminal, Palmer read on. He is not a failure. He is a hero who made a sacrifice so complete that people like you and me couldn't even understand it. He burned down his own life to keep us warm. Tyler looked like a man watching his entire world collapse. The perfect corporate prince image he'd built for himself was cracking apart piece by piece. His face had gone pale, and his hands were shaking. And what did I do? Palmer's voice carried Rachel's confession across the silent room. I let you treat him like garbage. Every time you mocked him, every time you called him a washed-up failure, I said nothing. I used your contempt for him as a shield to hide my own shame. Wade Phillips was already calculating his exit strategy. I could see it in his eyes. The moment he realized Tyler wasn't going to be the golden goose he'd thought. Tiffany had gone completely silent, probably wondering if her meal ticket was about to disappear, but Palmer still wasn't finished. He turned to the final page of the codicil. Therefore, he read, having stated the truth, and in an effort to correct a betrayal that can never be undone, I hereby leave my entire estate, all properties, assets, investments, and controlling interest in Carter Defense Technologies, valued at approximately $45 million to my ex-husband, Brian Carter. The words just hung in the air. I couldn't process them. $45 million. The company I'd helped build and then lost. After 20 years of exile, Rachel had given me everything. Tyler made a sound like a wounded animal. This is impossible, he whispered. She was sick. She had dementia or something. This isn't legal. Palmer reached for another document. Your mother underwent a complete psychiatric evaluation 72 hours before signing this codicil. She was declared fully competent by 3 independent doctors. He slid the medical report across the table. She was entirely lucid, Mr. Carter. This document is completely valid. That's when Tyler completely lost it. He swept everything off the table. Water glasses, documents, Palmer's reading glasses, everything went flying. This is theft, he screamed, his voice cracking like a teenager's. I'll contest this. I'll sue everyone in this room. Palmer calmly pressed a button on his desk phone. Within seconds, 2 security guards appeared at the door, big guys in dark suits who looked like they could handle pretty much anything. "I'll destroy you all." Tyler was raving, pointing at me with a shaking finger. "You manipulated her. You got to her somehow. This isn't over." The security guards moved in, one on each arm. Tyler struggled against them, but it was like watching a child fight against his parents. Wade Phillips had already grabbed his briefcase and was heading for the door without a backward glance. Tiffany followed him, clicking across the marble floor in her expensive heels. "Don't forget this," Palmer said calmly, sliding a check across the table to Tyler. "Your inheritance, $25, as specified in your mother's will." Tyler stared at that check like it was a snake. Then he looked at me, and I saw something I'd never seen in his eyes before: complete defeat. "I was supposed to be somebody," he said quietly, the fight going out of him. "I was supposed to matter." "You do matter, Tyler," I said, meaning it. "You're still my son." But he was already being escorted out. The security guards firm but not rough. The heavy doors closed behind them, and suddenly it was just me and Palmer in that expensive conference room. "Your ex-wife wanted you to have this as well," Palmer said, reaching into his jacket pocket. He pulled out a small brass key. "It opens a safe in her home office. She said you'd know what to do with what's inside." I took the key, feeling its weight in my calloused fingers. "What's in there?" Palmer packed up his documents with methodical care. "I believe it's the original evidence from 2004. Everything that proves your innocence and her mistakes. She wanted you to decide whether to make it public or not." I sat there for a long time after Palmer left, just staring at that key. $45 million. The company that had my name on it originally. After 20 years of people thinking I was a criminal, I had everything back and more. But it wasn't about the money. It never had been. It was about the truth finally coming out, about my son maybe understanding what his old man had really done for the family. I drove back to Youngstown in a daze, that key burning a hole in my pocket. Carter's Auto Repair was waiting for me, along with a '98 Silverado that still needed its transmission rebuilt. Some things never change, but some things do. Tomorrow I'd have to figure out how to run a $45 million defense contractor. Tonight, I was still just Brian Carter, mechanic and Navy veteran, trying to make sense of how my quiet life had just exploded. The key was still in my pocket when I finally locked up the garage. Whatever Rachel had left in that safe could wait until morning. I'd been patient for 20 years. I could be patient for one more night. Sometimes justice comes late, but when it arrives, it's worth the wait. Sometimes the quietest people really do have the most devastating plans. Rachel had taught me that. And maybe, just maybe, she'd finally taught Tyler something too. Sometimes the biggest sacrifices a man makes are the ones nobody sees, but eventually, the truth has a way of coming to the surface, no matter how long it takes. A father's love isn't measured by what he gets in return, but by what he's willing to give up to protect his family, even when they turn their backs on him.